Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Turtles Love Pizza. And as you know, this is the podcast where we go over everything related to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in regards to the films. And we're ending it with the 5-issue Last Ronin story arc. So we've already been through the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, 2, and 3. But who's my co-host today?
This is Andrew. Hi, lovely folks.
Andrew, what did we watch this week?
We watched TMNT, the fourth Ninja Turtles movie is what it's considered, and it's loosely like a sequel to the first three.
Okay. And what's the biggest difference between this one and the other three?
It is CGI goodness.
All right. So before we get into it, I always like to ask this: what was your first experience with this movie?
Like all the other Ninja Turtle movies, they came out around my birthday,
Yeah.
and this one came out in 2007. So I was living in Waco at the time. So I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theaters.
Okay.
But I really don't have I have vague recollections of watching this in the theater in Waco.
And I believe the one person that has always been with you throughout all the other three films has been your mother.
Yeah, not this time.
Not this time. You grew up,
Definitely,
right?
I grew up. If anything, I think maybe Thomas was with me.
Oh, probably. But from that first viewing, did anything so with your most recent viewing, like did anything stand out or did it feel the same way as when you first saw it? Like
I think I appreciated this one more this time.
okay.
I
Okay.
think when I had originally watched this, I was a little disappointed because it just seems so different from the first three movies.
Uh-huh.
Um,
We'll get
but
into
watching
it.
it, yeah,
Yeah.
but watching it now, I think I had a different reaction to it, more of an appreciation because I think it's because I had recently watched the third one and
Mhm.
that had just left a sour taste in my mouth. And so watching this one after watching the third one was like, this is a pick me up.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And I do think the turtles are served well by the CGI.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think?
think so too. It was nice to see them. They do look a little too similar to me.
Yeah, other than the bandanas and the voices,
Yeah,
they're
I mean, there's a few differences in their facial features, but it's not super noticeable unless you're paying attention for it.
yeah, I think in the original Ninja Turtles, they kind of had different skin colors. Like one was darker and some were lighter. And then they definitely had different facial expressions. Whereas for the CGI, it kind of, yeah, I can see what you mean. Because I think Donatello was the darkest in the other ones, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, but anyways, okay. So why don't you kind of for me, I think I borrowed it from you. Literally. I didn't watch this in theaters. I think I borrowed the DVD from you at one point and I watched it. And I think at the time I didn't enjoy it that much. But kind of like you, after this viewing of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 and then watching this one, I actually kind of enjoyed it. And I don't know, if you were to give it like some kind of star rating, what would you give it?
Three,
Out
3 out of
out of
five.
5 slices.
Yeah, 3 out of 5.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I'd probably give it about 3.5. But yeah, so why don't we just go into spoilers and just talk about the movie and what we enjoyed, what we didn't like, and then we'll
I mean,
just go
the
from there.
movie's over 10 years old, so there are no spoilers. If you haven't watched it by now, you're probably not going to watch it.
Hold on, let me do math. I think it's 14 years old. Anyways,
Yeah, that sounds
okay.
about right.
So, why don't we what Andrew, why don't you give us a little short plot summary and then we'll get into it.
All right, so plot summary is 3,000 years ago, there was some warrior, and he opened up a portal to another world, and he ended up turning his generals into stone and becoming an immortal. And then fast forward to present day, Leo is in like Central America. All the other turtles are kind of doing their own thing, and April seeks out Leo to kind of reunite the turtles. And in the process, she inadvertently like brings the bad guy the statue so that he can end the curse of immortality and his generals being stone. And then apparently that guy's working with the Foot Clan who's helping him out. And so it's a story about brotherhood, story about stone monsters and parallel universes.
Yeah, it's actually really epic in scope. And you mentioned this. There's a narration. Who's that by?
Morpheus himself.
Lawrence Fishburne.
That's
Yeah.
right. The voice cast for this is actually pretty awesome because you
Yeah,
have
I
like what Chris Evans, you have Sarah
yeah.
Michelle Gellar, you have Patrick Stewart.
Uh-huh. You have Zhang Ziyi. Like Zhang
Yeah, which
Ziyi.
I don't understand why she needs to be in there because like Karai's supposed to be Japanese.
Yeah,
Just
and
saying.
her English is still pretty broken. I
Yeah, she was still riding that what's it, Crouching Tiger wave at this point in time.
yeah, agreed. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You have Mako Iwamatsu as well. He was Splinter, and
Yeah, this is like one of the last things he did, I think.
yeah, but okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. The one thing that I really enjoy about this movie is just the camaraderie between the turtles. And this is the one movie where I feel like every one of the turtles is established very well in terms of character. You
Yeah.
see everyone's personality and what they're good at and what they're not good at. And the fight scenes are amazing in this movie. Now, what I didn't enjoy is kind of like all the other stuff. You know what I
Isn't that
mean?
always the case? Isn't that always the case with all these movies is I enjoy the turtles, but I hate everything else.
Yeah.
Like why are there humans in this?
Well, honestly, April and Casey Jones are really good. I
Yeah, their
really enjoyed.
storyline it made sense and it wasn't overpowering the rest of the story.
Right. Well, I think April was kind of weird when she all of a sudden became a martial artist.
But isn't that always the assumption that if April spent all this time with the turtles and Splendor, shouldn't she have learned something by now?
Well, I don't know, man. If it was me and I had these turtles protecting me, I think I would kind of get lazy and just rely on them for everything. I mean, if
Yeah,
I was
good
a
thing you're
girl.
not April. Good thing you're
Actually,
not
I'm
April.
not a. Wait,
Actually,
I
even
shouldn't
now
even
you
say
would
that.
still do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah. I
as
would
you,
still.
Steven, you would still do that.
Yeah, I would. I would. So I'm not even going to bring that up. I apologize to everyone else for even saying that.
You can cut that out
But
in editing.
yeah, but yeah. So pretty much, I didn't really understand all the whole portal and then the monsters and the generals. Why did you even need that?
See, my thing is
Because
this should have been a series. There's so much
okay,
material,
uh
especially
huh.
with like having 13 monsters. This should have been a
Oh,
series. Because you
okay.
don't
I
even
see what you
see the
mean.
monsters. Like you
Right,
see like
right.
what, 3 or 4 of them, but there's so much backstory and there's so much that happens in the background that you don't see. Like this
Mm-hmm.
really should have been like a series.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right because you could have had them chasing each individual monster, and then instead of making them just some random monster, you could actually give them some kind of personality.
Yeah, and then it's like because like this is all happening in the background. The turtles are completely oblivious, and then all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden they're like, "Oh, let's just save Leo," and in the process we're like, "Oh, we're just gonna save the world."
Yeah,
It just kind of fell into their lap basically, which didn't really make sense.
yeah. Everything seems shoehorned up to a point. Whereas
Yeah,
if okay, here's the great thing, right? Because I love every time the turtles are fighting, even if they're fighting themselves, amongst each other. Because one of the best action scenes is Leo versus Raph in this movie.
yeah, that was great.
And it's just and the way the CGI works is it just seems so weightless and they actually feel like they're ninjas. They're actually doing all these really cool moves. You feel the anger between every hit and it's everything with the turtles is well earned, and then yeah, you just have these random people running around catching monsters. To me, it was kind of, man, if we could have just had a movie about these turtles getting together again, and I wouldn't even mind having them fight Karai. You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so here's the one thing that they failed at as ninjas,
Okay.
and that was a smoke bomb. Because every
Okay.
single time they did it, they failed at it. But when like Karai did it with the foot soldiers, they were awesome. Like smoke bomb, they disappear. And then
Yeah.
when Raph did it, he's like running away, and you can see him running away from behind the smoke,
Yeah, that's true.
like both times.
But here's my thing. Like, I think we need to get into the what are ninjas? Aren't they assassins?
Yeah, I mean they're
They're like
assassins. They're supposed to be
espionage
stealthy.
spies.
There are a lot of different things.
Yeah, exactly. I almost feel like the turtles should have been Teenage Mutant Samurai Turtles. You know?
I mean, that's the point of the Last Ronin, right?
Yeah, that's
A
true.
samurai without a land and a master. So
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait till we get into that because the story is actually really good. But back to this movie. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, like, what was your favorite part of the entire film? Like,
favorite part of the entire film.
yeah,
I really think it was that Leo Raph fight. I think that was good.
okay. And any runner up?
Any runner up? Um, Let me think
Maybe in
here.
terms of what which turtle voice was your favorite? How about that?
I think Leo's voice was my favorite in this one.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
why?
I think they just did a good job of characterizing Leo and like his hesitancy of becoming like wanting to come back and then taking on that mantle of leadership again.
Hmm.
And then his cockiness when he's fighting like the Night Watcher.
Oh yeah,
He's like,
I
I can
really
beat you.
enjoyed that.
Yeah, because he didn't realize. My thing is, how did they not know it was Raph? How is it that Casey Jones is the only one that can figure that out?
Well, okay, let's go back a little bit
He
because
looks like a giant turtle, for one. Like, he
well,
looks like a giant metal turtle.
he does look like he's wearing a lot of armor, though. You know, so
But
it could
like,
be.
if you look at his body and his proportions, he looks like a giant turtle.
Yeah, that is true. But his outfit makes him actually look like a ninja, like a silver ninja. I think he should have went with black. But one of the things that they mentioned at the beginning of the film is that pretty much when Leo left, they kind of all splintered, right? And
Yeah,
each one of them got their own jobs. So Donatello became a TI guy or IT guy, and then Michelangelo became a, what was he, like
he was
uh
like a clown basically, or someone at kids parties,
yeah, a
but he was like a giant
costume.
turtle.
Yeah. And then Raph, no one knows what he does. He just sleeps during the day, right?
Yeah, he basically
So
becomes Batman.
exactly. So the main reason why the other turtles don't realize is because when he's sleeping, they're awake, and then when they're sleeping, he's out fighting. So
But that's even more of like a telltale sign that the Night Watcher is Raph.
yeah,
Because,
that
they see him on the news that he's like hunting vigilantes at night. And who's not there at night? Raph's not there at night. I mean, it's kind of a dead giveaway. And then he's exhausted during the day.
yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous.
I do feel like they don't even care though. The turtles kind of seem like they think he's cool. At least Mike does. Donatello doesn't really care though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But it's more when you see Leo return, where he sees all this news about the Night Watcher, and then he takes action. Because at one point or another, I almost feel like all the turtles are directionless except for Raph, because it's always been Leo and Raph,
Hmm.
contesting who is the actual leader. Whereas the other two don't really care because Donatello would rather work with his technology and mess with science stuff. And Michelangelo, he's still a kid. Out of all of them, Michelangelo is still a kid.
Hmm.
So yeah, for me, I think I really liked Raph's voice, but the one thing that I would say about Raph's voice is he definitely does not sound like a teenager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His voice is super deep, and but the cool thing is he kind of has that New York accent going, and he is the hot-headed brother. So they have all of the characterizations done well. I think I think the one voice that I didn't really enjoy as much was actually Mako. I don't know why. It's just the voices prior to Mako in the first movie and the second movie. I thought those were a little more. They're less. I don't know how to say it, but there's something about Mako's accent. I think that kind of. I don't know how to say it. It's
I
just
think
a.
he was there. There's a You can hear how old he is in his voice.
Yeah, I think so. But
Like
at the
the other
same
ones, they
time,
they tried to make him sound old, but
uh-huh.
the actors themselves weren't old, so there's not that translation of elderly. Like my voice has been ravaged through the age of time, right?
Right.
But then Mako, he seriously was an older person, and you can kind of hear that in there, and it just kind of ages Splinter. But the face that you see of like the character, the
Yeah.
CGI character, doesn't match like the voice tone, basically.
I think you're right because he kind of doesn't look that old in the movie.
Yeah, like he has a little
Yeah.
white beard, but he's not like kind of old and kind of
Yeah, weathered.
decrepit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Another thing that I kind of didn't enjoy. So they have those rock monster, or no, the rock soldiers, right?
Hmm.
And they all so you mentioned that that there's a bad guy that wants to send back the monsters and then bring back his army or whatever. So
Hmm.
Patrick Stewart's character, right? But at the end of the day, he's not actually a bad person. He's actually just trying to get his mortality back because at one point his whole crew becomes immortal, right?
Well, they're all immortal, but they turn into stone, and he stays a human.
Right. And then he kind of wants to reverse that whole thing because he's lived long enough, and then he wants to reverse that whole immortality thing, and the only way to do that is to gather the monsters, the 13 monsters, right?
Yeah.
So what I didn't really appreciate was like those four stone generals. You don't really get to know them either, right?
Yeah, they're just kind of slinking around in the background.
Yeah, they're kind of like your two-dimensional villains that have no real purpose other than to be an antagonist. Whereas that's why you that's why I think Max Winters works as a character because you kind of sympathize for him. But I wonder what it would have been like if he was actually like a bad dude, you know,
Yeah.
and he was leading these four generals, and each of the four generals had their own motivations. And at the end of the day, Max Winters realizes he was wrong. So kind of like The Rock. You remember The Rock?
Like the movie The Rock?
Yeah, the movie The Rock. Sorry.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen that.
Yeah, so you remember how Ed Harris, he's like that general. He wants to get revenge because none of his soldiers were paid because they were black ops all the time, right?
Hmm.
But at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, he kind of is like, "Oh, I realize I've done bad. Now I want to, take it back a notch and just, I don't want to go all the way with this plan." Right? So, I think that would have been a little more interesting in the sense of character motivations. And and then you kind of get to see each individual soldier or general saying whether, yeah, I want to fight, or yeah, I'm with you. We should stop being this way. You know,
Yeah.
kind of just a little more motivation. I think would have helped the movie a little more when it comes to
Yeah,
the
and that's
antagonist.
that. I think that goes to my argument of it being more of a series. So then you have time and the ability to kind of build all these things up.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, I mean, if you just take out all the stone stuff and it was just the turtles, you still have a 30-minute pretty good episode.
That's true.
And I mean, what did you think about Sarah Michelle Gellar as April O'Neil?
She was okay. No
I
complaints there.
I think Chris Evans was a little better for me though.
Was he? I was kind of wanting more of that New York accent from him, just like
Uh,
in the first and the third movie.
okay, I see what you mean. Some Elias Koteas
Yeah, a little
action,
bit more like rough.
grit.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. A little gritty and down and dirty.
yeah, a
Yeah,
little less Captain America.
yeah.
Like for
But I
Chris
mean, the
Evans,
April O'Neil.
he needs to be more Johnny Storm than Captain America at that point.
Oh, okay, okay, I see what you mean. But yeah, I mean, overall, this was a vast improvement. Like, if you got rid of all the stone generals and stuff, I think the whole Ninja Turtle portion would would almost be on par with the original Turtle movie.
No,
No?
no.
Well, here's the other thing with CGI though. It really did make the turtles seem like they didn't weigh that much.
Yeah, they're like really small.
Yeah.
Like you're missing the
And
size. I think, but then you have like the opposite reaction, like with the Michael Bay ones, which are up next, where they're huge,
yeah,
like
that's true.
absolutely monstrous.
So I think the original had it just right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
And that one, the original definitely did Leonardo and Raphael and Michelangelo justice, but not Donatello. You know?
Yeah. Definitely
So
not Donatello.
yeah. So if they had done a little more with Donatello, I we kind of talked about it. It was primarily because the voice actor was kind of a comedian. So, or not a comedian, but Corey Feldman. So
Yeah.
I guess they took that away from him. But yeah, anything else you want to add?
If they did want to stretch this out to an actual series, how many episodes do you think it should be?
Honestly, it would have to be kind of like a mini series, but I would think you could stretch. I wouldn't do 13 episodes. That'd be too long. I think you could do two monsters per episode, and then at the end you have one monster, one major monster, and then you have everything going on. But no, you know what? There is a lot going on though, because if you were to stretch it out, then you could give each of the Stone Warriors a story, right?
Yeah.
So maybe like 13 or 14 episodes.
Yeah, and then you kind of get more of that motivation of their betrayal at the end.
Oh, with Max Winners.
Yeah.
And you know what would be really cool? So you mentioned it at the beginning, but basically Leo goes to South America for training on how to become a better leader, which we really don't see how he became a better leader.
Yeah,
So
why South America of all places?
yeah, exactly. So I think it would be cool if they had an additional episode where it kind of talked about what he actually learned over there, because Leo is actually one of the more interesting characters, and you could juxtapose Leo's training with Raphael deciding to become the Night Watcher. So I think that would be a cool two-part like episode.
Yeah, definitely.
And th- and then and then I wouldn't say the same about Donatello and Michelangelo unless you really wanted like a funny.
Yeah, I mean those would be like comedic relief moments.
Yeah. So that can be at any time really. But okay, so I'm actually on the Wikipedia page right now.
Uh huh.
And then I just read this. This is actually really interesting. So they were thinking of doing a CGI Ninja Turtles movie. It was announced in 2000, but the original director was John Woo.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then it just wasn't moving along anywhere. So Wu moved on. Like he kind of said, "Forget about it. I'm gonna move on." And then they decided to go full CGI because I think it was supposed to be live action slash CGI, but then they decided to go full CGI with the animation, and they chose this guy Kevin Monroe. And at the time, I think Kevin Monroe, he didn't really do that much before this. He was kind of
I think
like,
he just an animation.
yeah, he was just a storyboard artist. He did a video game called Freaky Flyers, where he was actually the director, probably for the cutscenes, and then he did concept art for the Ant Bully. So this is kind of his first directorial movie debut. Which, if it was me, I'd probably be like super nervous, but altogether, yeah, like we said, it's a pretty fun movie, I would say, and it's short. I think that's good too.
That is true.
Yeah. Um. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. It was a surprisingly fun movie. It wasn't as bad as two or three. Well, I mean, I guess it'd be tied with two, right?
I would put two above this one still.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you would do that, what is the one thing about two that lifts it up from this movie?
The one thing about two that lifts it up above this is probably just the nostalgia of it. In all honesty,
Okay, all right. It's not the Kino.
I mean, Kino was cool. There's a lot of like iconic moments in there, like Toka and Razor and Super Shredder,
Yeah,
which have really kind of lived on in like the lore of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like this movie
yeah.
really didn't add to the legacy much.
Okay, I see what you mean.
I mean, this is the first time we get Karai as an animated character, which is good,
Uh-huh.
because she's an important part of the actual story and legacy of the Ninja Turtles. But
Hmm.
other than that, there really wasn't a whole lot of addition to the legacy of Ninja Turtles from this film.
Okay, that brings up a good point then. Before I go on, what what do you want to see in a Ninja Turtle movie?
What do I want to see? I want to see, the four brothers. I want to see their interactions. I want to see them acting like brothers. I think this movie did a good job about doing that, of
Mm-hmm.
having them interact as brothers and have that schism between Raph and Leo. Also, just having that void of having someone missing, of
Right.
Leo being gone for so long. I think that was one of the strengths of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You also want to have like a classic villain. Unfortunately, Max Winters, even though he's voiced by Patrick Stewart, is not a classic and memorable villain.
Yeah, that's
At the end
true.
of the day, like he's kind of forgettable, and at the end of the day,
Y-
he wasn't even the villain. So,
Yeah, and
and
he
then
never
even if you,
returned.
yeah, and if you think about the generals, like they were kind of cool, but
Uh-huh.
they weren't really built up either.
Right.
And so I didn't even know their names until I looked it up on Wikipedia.
Like
I
just
just knew
now.
them. Yeah, I just knew them as the Stone Generals.
Yeah, me too. um hey, okay. I feel like every single episode we kind of talk about the soundtrack and stuff. So what did you think about the song Shell Shock by the Gym Class Heroes?
I'm a Gym Class Heroes fan.
Yeah.
The song though was a little just chaotic.
Okay.
Like he raps so fast.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like it just was really chaotic. It didn't really match the tone of the movie.
Um
Like I get why they wanted gym class heroes to do it,
Yeah.
and gym class, like they're definitely up for the challenge of that.
Yeah.
But the energy of that song is really just up, and the movie didn't really match all of that.
Well, I don't think it matched the relationship between the turtles, but it definitely matched like the last 10 minutes. The
Not really. Even
epic
that
fight
wasn't
scene.
like it wasn't like I would actually see that song for a movie more like Into the Spider Verse.
Oh, yeah, that would be good, actually.
Like that kind of energy of a song is something for that kind of animation that's just really colorful and then hype and just a lot more energy. Like this movie did not have that same kind of energy.
I see what you mean. And then do you remember any of like the actual original score? Any of those cues? Cuz it's basically Klaus Badell who did Pirates of the Caribbean. And to
No.
me, it's a little too it's a little too epic. I kind of miss the original theme song, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the music did not hit on this one.
Yeah. Cuz they have a bunch of songs on this original sound or the music from the motion picture and I don't remember any of these songs except for the Shell Shock track.
Yeah, I think the music from the soundtrack is just one of those things they just tack in there to sell something else with the movie.
Yeah. So, anyways, I think we've talked enough about TMNT, the animated film from 2007. Next up, we have two more movies pretty much, right?
We have the Michael Bay duo.
Oh my god, this is going to be hard, man.
If you made it through the third one, you can make it through these next two. And honestly, for me, the second Michael Bay one isn't that bad. The
Uh-huh.
first one has its charm, like the
Yeah.
elevator scene,
Yeah, that's true.
and that's about it.
Or they're beatboxing, right?
Yeah,
All right. Well, that's the goal next week or in the coming months we're going to finally watch the two Michael Bay movies and by the time we finish those two the last issue of The Last Ronin will have been released
hopefully.
and we can well I think it was February or March 2022.
It's supposed to be February, but they've been delaying all these so much, so that's what I'm saying. Hopefully,
Yeah. But dude, it's worth it cuz the freaking art in that book is beautiful. So
it is.
all right guys, go check out Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movies on Apple or even Amazon. You can rent them for $3.99. I would not recommend you buy them, but hey, if that's your prerogative, you can buy
If you,
two of the films for $24.99. Although if you buy them singles, it's $14.99. So yeah, there you go. I already did the research. I went on Apple iTunes. So join us in this painful endeavor for the next two movies.
there you go. Yeah, don't let us be the only ones out there suffering.
Yeah. And anything else you want to tell the people out there?
Cowabunga.
Peace out, folks. Cowabunga. Okay, no, let's do it together. Ready?
All right,
3, 2, 1.
cowabunga.
Cowabunga.
We really sucked at that.
All right. Later, folks.
Bye.